Mr. Fayyad and his responsibilities were he to take up the job on Libya. Yes.
Sure. First, I guess I wanted to, it seems like one of the messages coming out of this is from Stephane's statement that he sent out on Friday, is that nationality is, these are international civil servants, nationality has nothing to do with it. And I wanted to know, first, I wanted to get your response to, if it's true that nationality doesn't matter, will you confirm that after France having controlled peacekeeping now 4 times in a row, that the 3 candidates to replace Mr. Ladsus are Sylvie Berman, Mr. Lacroix, and Mr. Ripert? And if so, if it's going to be French, then how can it be said that nationality is not playing a part in these appointments?
First of all, I think you're trying to tie in 2 different things. What we're talking about is the idea that United Nations staff serve strictly in their personal capacity and do not represent any government or country. That is certainly the case. Regarding geographic distribution of posts, as you know, anytime there are senior posts, there is an idea that there will be a certain geographic distribution in which different nations and different groups of nations will be represented, and that is part of the process. Regarding peacekeeping, no, I wouldn't confirm any of those names.
But I guess if the question is meritocracy, what is it just a coincidence that the UK has controlled OCHA twice in a row, France has controlled peacekeeping 4 times in a row, the US has controlled DPA? Is it? I mean, I guess just serious. Are you seriously saying that in each case the most meritorious person for these posts only came from the country that already controlled the post in the past?
Again, I don't see how this has anything to do with Salam Fayyad, and so it's not really a follow-up
merit,
question.
it's all over.
Regarding the question of meritocracy, yes, we do go for merit, and there are people of merit that can be found in every nationality. That's not at issue. What we do have at the UN is concerns to make sure that merit is rewarded, that there is a distribution, a geographic distribution of posts, so all the nations of the world feel that themselves and their groups fairly represented, and that there is a distribution according to gender that is also just. Within that spectrum, you can find qualified people of every race, of every religion, of every nationality.
But why
Yes,
are some
Rosalind.
USG's posts advertised on the website for all countries to apply and some are not? Can you just explain that?
There's a process that we go through, and we follow rules regarding every appointment. Yes, of what happened on Friday, certainly. The Security Council was informed in writing, yes.
I guess just on that, I'd asked you before, or maybe it was Stephane, about this February 8th letter that was sent to the Council. And it said, so I guess a lot of these questions seem to go, his letter to the Council on February 8th said, following the usual consultations. So can you just say, what are the usual consultations? Prior to such a letter going out, are all 15 members of the Security Council contacted? Are only the P5 contacted? What are the usual consultations referred to in that letter?
I wouldn't clarify it further than that. There's a normal procedure, and that was what was followed in this case.
Right, but didn't we think it's good to describe what the procedure is as a matter of transparency?
It involves the key countries, such as the members of the Security
Including
Council.
non-council members? Do they have a right to block envoys? Did you consult in Libya? Well, whom did you consult?
There were consultations with involved parties, including the Security Council, but also including those who would be essential in terms of having support for an envoy's work. That's in line with the appointment procedure for every envoy. Yeah.
Burundi, CAR, and Kenya. In Burundi, the talks that are re-beginning, there's a list out of the participants, but it says at the bottom of the list that the opposition's attendance is contingent on discussions with Pierre Nkurunziza to grant conditional immunity. And I guess since the UN is supporting this process, is it really a process if one side gets to choose who from the other side can attend? What is the role of the UN in ensuring inclusivity of the talks?
We have stressed and will continue to stress the need for all talks to be inclusive, and we want, therefore, all people to be able to participate in a manner that is not conditional.
But but it's conditioned on immunity. This is a document from Mr. Mkapa,
Yeah.
and he seems to be accepting that Pierre Nkurunziza can choose who can attend.
We're in touch with the parties, and we're doing what we can to ensure that talks will be as inclusive as possible.
And I want to ask on the Central African Republic announcement that you made, the reports say or the people that were fired on say that one commander but also 3 civilians were killed. What is the UN's estimate of what the effect of using the helicopter, gunships was?
Well, at this stage, we are still trying to evaluate what happened as a result of its actions. Like I said, we had no choice but to take the particular action we did once it was clear that the actions being taken by the FPRC could harm civilians in Bambari. The coalition led by the FPRC had refused to end its military campaign, has made taking Bambari its main objective. From our standpoint, we had been trying to mediate and urge them to engage in dialogue. So we continue to stress that, and we continue to stress the need to protect civilians, including in Bambari. And so we're hopeful that that the armed groups, the FPRC and the UPC, will now stop crossing the red lines that they're not to cross. It's because a red line was crossed that we had to engage.
But if a military intervention, if it's true what this says, that the ratio between civilians and combatant casualties is 1 to 3 or 75% civilian, is it acceptable to the UN? And what's the mechanism to investigate that?
We're looking in to see exactly what happened, what the casualties were, whether they were civilians or combatants. At this stage, we don't have those sorts of figures, those sorts of numbers. It's clear that a helicopter from the UN mission had to intervene because the FPRC members went into an uninhabited zone. That necessitated our action, and that was designed to protect the civilians in Bambari. Had we not acted, the fear was that would mean that there would be actual fighting involving civilians in Bambari. Yes.
Sure. I want to add two things. One on well, anyway, there's a big story in The Guardian about criticism of the UN system for not calling the return of Afghan refugees from Pakistan refoulement, and in fact, it's sort of standing by as people are forced back into a dangerous situation. So I wanted to know, since the Secretary General, this is his issue, does he believe that the return of these Afghans from Pakistan is refoulement or not?
Well, first of all, we do appreciate the hospitality that Pakistan has given to over 1 million undocumented Afghans for decades. That's been crucial. At the same time, the ongoing negative rhetoric, stigmatism, and labeling of the Afghan population in Pakistan and how this is adversely increasing their vulnerability, safety, and security in Pakistan is of concern. We believe that Pakistan and Afghanistan should work together to finalize a mechanism for documenting undocumented Afghans living in Pakistan. Returnees should be provided with detailed information on the situation in their place of origin to allow them to take into account their current situation in regards to security, governance, and livelihoods, and to make a fully informed choice. And we believe that Pakistan must uphold their obligations under international laws, including the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants, which was signed in 2016.
Okay, I won't ask about the R word, but I wanted to ask you about this about Kenya. There's two things. First, there's a report of a letter to the Secretary General from IDPs in South Sudan saying that they have concerns about the use of Kenyan peacekeepers, given what they see as Kenya's role, including the abduction of SPLA-IO leaders in Nairobi. And I wanted to know, are you aware of that letter? What does the Secretary General think of the letter? And has the resident coordinator in Kenya said anything about these, people going missing and reappearing in South Sudan?
I'm aware of the reports of missing persons. I'm not aware of the letter, however, that you're talking about.
And one other thing, just because I see it as related, it's up to you, but and I don't know how you'll respond to it. So there's a story that the former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is in Kenya, and this has been confirmed to me by staff there. His quote, and this is why I'm asking you it, his quote as he left to go there is that he plans to meet and encourage UN staff in Kenya. And I wanted to know, is that true? Is there any formal process? Is there any cost to the UN of this? And what can you say about this report?
I'm not a spokesperson for Ban Ki-moon anymore.
I know, but you are a spokesman for the UN.
He travels as a private citizen, and I wish him well in all of his travels.
Given that his son-in-law is the head of the resident coordinator in Kenya, what is his engagement with the UN system in Kenya while he's there?
I know that you need to get over this, but
asking you.
He is a private citizen. He can go
His
wherever he
son-in-law
wants
happens to be the
without
head.
me having any responsibility for reporting
Were
on
any
any
UN
of that.
funds spent on this?
He's not a UN official anymore, and therefore when he travels as a private citizen.